You'll have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 1 minute for a closing statement, and 1 minute to answer each question.
Until they can vote, teenagers don't have much say in the election process. That changed for a night as government students from 5 Las Cruces high schools questioned candidates running for Las Cruces mayor.
As mayor, how would you prioritize city spending?
Nearly 300 people attended the forum at Oñate High School, which featured 9 out of 10 candidates in the race. The nonpartisan event marks efforts by Las Cruces Public Schools and civic groups to educate voters ahead of November's municipal elections.
Now, considering the amount of sunshine that New Mexico gets annually, are there any plans from any of you to integrate solar energy or renewable energy into Las Cruces?
That's a question from 15-year-old Ella Hutchinson. The Centennial High School junior says she's interested in pursuing a career in politics and became a moderator to learn more about those running to represent her community.
I thought that it would be important to ask the people who are going to be in charge of our city for the next couple of years what they plan to do on making our city more renewable. And my second question was about tourism because from watching a lot of New Mexico True videos and they talk about green chili and they talk about competing with Colorado, I wanted to know what our mayoral candidates could do to improve how we are seen by the rest of the country and the world.
So I wanted to bring a more general topic to hand, and I wanted to ask the question that what was the inspiration behind running for mayor?
17-year-old senior Osaze Williams represented Las Cruces High School. He says watching more news along with the Democratic primary debate sparked his interest to be a moderator. Williams added he gets his news from a variety of sources to gain more perspective from both major political parties.
I've been recently watching the news more, and I've grown an interest in these certain activities, and I wanted to see what a local standpoint before I start viewing more at a national standpoint. And I wanted to kind of get an understanding of how this system works because I plan on going into economics, and I think this is a very important thing to know about when going into that degree.
What will you do to work with the governor, superintendent, and school board to improve the quality of education in Las Cruces?
While education was a key issue on the evening, students also touched on city spending, unemployment, transportation, and funding for student organizations. To address those concerns, Williams says it's key for the mayor and community to work together.
So I think that the most important issues are that we need to come together as one. And I've heard that from majority of our mayoral candidates, and I think that that is the most important thing and moving forward. Also, I think we need to make sure our educational system is our main priority. Knowing that we're pretty low on the spectrum, we should work on improving us as a whole so that way our state and not only our city is improved.
You'll have 1 minute for your closing statements. We'll start with Bill Matisse.
Oñate Jr. Laney Davis served as the forum's primary moderator to enforce time limits and ground rules. At 16, Davis can't vote yet. Still, she says it's important that students her age get civically active and stay educated about the candidates.
I felt this process was very educational to see the different beliefs and views because I don't think as youth we pay attention enough to what's going on because we're not old enough to vote, but I believe that should change. And I feel like this has changed my perspective on a lot of how I should focus on these votes because I am a future voter.
I think they did tremendous.
To make their voices heard, Oñate Social Studies Department Chair David Nunez says students came up with their own questions. He says the work students did to set up the forum supplements what they learn in class about democracy and the election process.
It brings relevancy to what they're learning. So they get to take some knowledge that they're getting in the classroom, and then they get to apply it to real life situations. So it's one thing to read about in a textbook or do some activity related to what you're teaching when they get that new knowledge, but they're living government, right? You know, by taking part in events such as the ones tonight. So it's relevancy, it's real, and that's where they learn the most.
Hutchinson adds the chance to get comfortable talking to candidates helps students to connect with the leaders representing them.
Why is it important for people your age, high schoolers, to get civically engaged and to take part in forums like this?
Well, it's really important because this is going to be our future. This is going to be our city. This is going to be our nation. We need to be involved and have our voices heard, or else we're just going to be stomped over. And people are going to represent us when they don't really have our true values in mind.
And for once, these students controlled an important discussion from which they're often excluded.
To the voters, please remember to vote.
For KRWG Public Media, I'm Michael Hernandez.
Clerk's Office and League of Women's Voters.